Good morning. All right, I'm gonna make a video as well for the worksheet for today, so that way, you have step-by-step solutions for these problems. All right. That said, I guess this is an honor system, but just don't copy me. At least give it a try. See what you can do. Work through as many steps as you can. Use this for hints, but I ask that you don't just copy the answers off of this video. All right. So here's what we got. Let's see. Looking at number one here. The first thing I notice is that in equation 1 and equation 3, I have got opposites on my coefficients for r, right? So we can go ahead and combine those two equations. Sorry if my voice is a little bit shot. I was at a 49ers game yesterday, so um, if I sound a bit out of it, that's why. So we got 2r plus 5s plus 6t equals -4, and then I'm going to copy equation 3, -2r minus 4s minus 4t equals 2. And since we've got those opposites, right, we've got a +2 and a -2 as our coefficients of r, we can just go ahead, add those equations together, and it's going to eliminate that r variable. So we've got 2r minus 2r is 0, 5s minus 4s is just 1s, 6t minus 4t is 2t, and -4 plus 2 is -2. All right, so we've combined equations 1 and 3, and that has given us this new equation right here. Okay, so we need two equations with two variables each. So again, I eliminated r the first time, so I've got to eliminate r again. All right, well, one thing that I notice is that if I look at equation 2 and equation 3, I'm going to rewrite those over here and see what we can do. So equation 2, we've got 4r plus 5s plus 6t equals 6. And then on equation 3, notice, look again what we want to do. Remember, we eliminated r the first time, so we're going to eliminate r again. It doesn't matter which variable you pick to eliminate. As long as you do the same one both times, you'll be in good shape. So, looking at equations 2 and 3, right there, notice that if I multiply equation 3 by 2, that's going to give me opposites, right? Because that's what you want to do. You want to create opposites so that we can eliminate that variable, right? So we have a 4r and we want a -4. So I'm going to multiply equation 3 all the way through by 2. Okay, so here's equation 2. I've already copied it down. And down below it, I'm going to write equation 3 multiplied through by 2 on both sides. So I got -2r times 2, -4r. I got -4s times 2, -8s. I've got -4t times 2, -8t. And then I've got 2 times 2, so that means equals 4. All right, so let's go ahead, add these guys together, see what we get. 4r minus 4r, that's going to cancel out. That eliminates our r variable, which is good. That's what we wanted to do. 5s minus 8s is -3s. 6t minus 8t is -2t. And then 6 plus 4 is going to give us 10. All right, let's see what happens. So we've now got two equations with two variables each, which is what we want, right? And the same two variables, they're s's and t's. So now I can combine these two equations together and I can solve for s and t. And right off the bat, though, I already noticed this. Again, we have already got opposites, right? I've got a 2t, I've got a -2t, which is perfect. That's going to let us immediately go in and we can be able to solve for s. All right, so I'm going to copy these equations down. I've got s plus 2t equals -2. I've got -3s minus 2t equals 10. Let's add those up. So I've got s minus 3s, -2s. 2t minus 2t cancels out. -2 plus 10 is going to be 8. I'm going to divide both sides by -2. And that's going to be s equals -4. All right, so that's one of our variables. We can go ahead, plug that back into the original equation, find t. So we're going to plug that back into this one. So I've got, instead of s plus 2t, I'm going to substitute -4. So I've got -4 plus 2t equals -2. Add 4 to both sides, so I'll get 2t equals 2. And divide by 2, and that gives us t equals 1. All right, final step, plug those back into one of our first few equations, and solve for r. We got to get all three variables. I'm going to do equation 1. All right, so I had 2r, I'm just copying down, plus 5s plus 6t equals negative 4. Okay, that was supposed to be a t. And I'm going to substitute. So I have 2r plus 5s plus 6t equals negative 4, right? I substituted negative 4 in for s. I substituted 1 in for t. All right, let's solve for r. 5 times 4 is negative 20. 6 times 1 is 6. Negative 20 plus 6 is negative 14. Add 14 to both sides. So negative 4 plus 14 is going to give us 10. Divide by 2. R equals 5. There we go. There's your solution to the first problem right here. All right, so we've got R is 5, T is 1, S is negative 4. Okay, we got one more. Let's see what we can do. Look for any opposites. All right, remember what I said in our notes video. If you see a variable that has a coefficient of 1, I recommend eliminating that variable. I think it makes it easier, almost always will. All right, and notice I see a coefficient of 1. Negative 1 applies as well. Negative 1 will also work. 1 or negative 1, those are going to generally be your easiest ones to eliminate. It'll give you some less steps. All right, let's see what we got. So first of all, I notice I'm going to look to eliminate the z because I see that coefficient of negative 1. All right, well, notice this, right? So I've got equation 1, I've got equation 2, I've got equation 3. To be able to eliminate a z, I need this to turn into a positive 2, right? Because I want opposites. Notice I've got a negative 2 there. So to eliminate it, I need a positive 2, right? So it's going to be a plus 2z and a minus 2z. So think about how I can turn that coefficient of negative 1 into a positive 2. Well, we're going to multiply the whole thing on both sides. We're going to multiply it by negative 2. So think about I'm multiplying this whole equation by negative 2. So that's going to give me a plus 8x, a minus 6y, a plus 2z, and then equals negative 2. All right, I multiplied the entirety of equation 1 by negative 2. All right, well, let's write. I'm going to copy equation number 2 down below. So I got negative 4x plus 2y minus 2z equals 2. And we can add those together, right? Because now we're going to eliminate z. It's exactly what we wanted to do. We're eliminating z here. So 8x minus 4x is 4x. Negative 6y plus 2y is negative 4y. Z's are going to cancel. Negative 2 plus 2, that is 0. Okay. All right. Now, what we can see, I can't use equation 1 and equation 2 together again. So I either got to do 1 with 3 or I got to go equation 2 with equation 3, right? We got to use a different combination. I'm going to use equation 2 with equation 3. All right? So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to copy equation number 2, negative 4x plus 2y minus 2z equals 2. All right? But this isn't going to get me where I want, right? Because we don't have those opposites on our z's. We've got the same coefficients. We want opposites. All right? So if I take equation 3 and I multiply through by negative 1, that's going to turn this guy right here into a plus 2z, and then it'll be able to cancel out with equation 2, which is what we wanted. All right, so I'm going to multiply equation 3 through all the way through by negative 1. Remember, you can always multiply by whatever you want. As long as you do it on both sides, the math is still going to work. All right, so 6x, that's going to be a negative 6x once I multiply by negative 1. Right, I'm looking at equation 3 right here. That negative 3y becomes a positive 3y. That negative 2z becomes a positive 2z. And that 7 will become a negative 7. All right, let's add them up. Negative 4x minus 6x is negative 10x. 2y plus 3y is 5y. Those z's will cancel, and it equals negative 5. All right, and now we've got two equations with two variables. Just what we wanted. Okay, let's see what we can do here. All right, so I got 4x minus 4y equals 0. 10x minus 5y equals negative 5, right? These are my two new equations right here. I got 4x minus 4y equals 0. Negative 10x plus 5y equals negative 5. Okay, so for once we don't have an easy option as far as something to eliminate here. All right, so let's make it to where what we need to do is we need to get the coefficients to be opposites. Again, there's a number of ways you could do this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to eliminate. I'll eliminate the y's, and here's how I'm going to do that. All right, so I'm going to eliminate the y's, so I need these to become opposite coefficients of each other. All right, here's a trick for doing that. All right, so I've got this 5 here on my lower equation, so I'm going to multiply the entire upper equation through by 5. I've got this negative 4 on my upper equation. I'm going to multiply the entire lower equation through by negative 4. Okay, now watch what happens now when I'm multiplying by each other's coefficients. Okay, I'm going to bring it over here. So I'm multiplying the top one through by 5. That gives me 20x minus 20y equals 0. Multiplying the bottom one through by negative 4, that gives me 40x minus 20y equals positive 20. Okay. All right, that got us closer. One last thing that we need to do. We got to switch some signs, right? We're going to have to multiply the bottom one through by negative 1, right? Because right now, this isn't quite going to cancel. I've got a negative 20 on top, and I've got a negative 20 on the bottom. We want those to be opposite signs. All right, so when we multiply by each other's coefficient, what that did is it got it towards the same coefficient, and now we just need to multiply by negative 1 to one of the equations so that we can have opposite. It doesn't matter which one you multiply through by negative 1. I'll do the bottom. So that will become a negative. This will become a positive, and this will become a negative. All right, let's add them together. 20 minus 40, that's negative 20x. Our y's are going to cancel. 0 minus 20 is negative 20. Divide by negative 20 on both sides. You're going to get x equals 1. All right, let's plug that back in. I'll plug it into the top one here. So I've got 20x plugging in 1 minus 20y equals 0. So that means that 20 minus 20y equals 0. I'm going to add 20y on both sides. And I get 20 equals 20y. Let's divide by 20. And you will get y also equals 1. All right, we got our x, we got our y. Let's go plug that back into the original. Where's our original? I'll plug it back into equation 1. All right, so equation 1, we're plugging it back in. It was negative 4x plus 3y. I forgot what it was. Minus z equals 1. Minus z equals 1. So we're going to plug in 1 for x. We're going to plug in 1 for y. And then we're going to solve for z. So it's a negative 4 plus 3 minus z equals 1. Negative 4 plus 3, that's negative 1, minus z equals 1. So we're going to add 1 to both sides. We'll get negative z equals 2. And then we can just divide both sides by negative 1. So that's going to give us z equals negative 2. Okay, there it is. All right, if you have any extra questions, please let me know. I'm happy to help. But you have a video for the worksheet now. All right, good luck.